Hi guys, my name is Rahul and this is my football vlog. Today I'm just gonna talk about what all the things I'm gonna do with this vlog. I'm gonna talk everything related to the Football World Cup. It's right around the corner, less than a month to go, and I'm gonna do stats, analysis, team squads, talk about the different matchups that are going to excite us in this Football World Cup, talk about the different teams, the favorites, the underdogs, everything, big game analysis, more underdog game analysis, talk about the different formations as well as different tactics applied by the coaches in big teams at this World Cup, and also talk about the big players who are going to be playing in this World Cup. But first, today I want to talk about the few big players that are going to be missing at this Football World Cup. Recently, in the past week, Dani Alves got a major knock and crushed his chances of playing in what could possibly be his final World Cup. Things were going good for him. He was recently in the friendlies in which Neymar was injured, also named as the captain of the Brazilian national team, and was a favorite of the coach Tite. And so it comes as a major blow for the Brazilian squad, who has won 10 of the last 12 qualifier games and qualified at the top of the South American qualifiers, which is one of the toughest qualifiers to qualify from, as Argentina found out. So did Chile. Sadly, they are missing in the World Cup. I will talk about the teams missing in the World Cup a little later, but apart from Dani Alves, there's Lauren Koscielny, who has unfortunately hurt his Achilles in the final few matches for Arsenal. But the biggest player who we all will miss the FIFA 2018 World Cup in Russia is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Although he'll be participating in the World Cup in some other form as a brand ambassador, he won't be playing for Sweden, and that's a loss for all of us, because he had retired from the national duties in after the 2016 European Championships. But against all odds, when Sweden qualified for this Football World Cup without any help from Zlatan whatsoever, it looked as if it was building up to a return for the great Swedish player. But in the end, things didn't turn out the way we all hoped they would, and Zlatan's not going to be at the World Cup. Another big name who is in question is Neymar. Neymar Jr. has had an injury to his right ankle, since the March of this year while playing for Paris Saint-Germain, and he has missed a few friendlies for Brazil as well. But in all probability, it looks like he'll be fit for the Football World Cup. Although his fitness is in question, as he has not played any games since March, and his match awareness and game stamina will come into question, especially in the group games for Brazilian national team. Also, the England national team has been announced, and few big names have missed the bus. Joe Hart, Jack Wilshere were subject to some poor performances, as well as Chris Smalling. Although Gareth Southgate had questioned the defender's ability to pass the ball out in the midfield and build up the play for his entire team, but Smalling had been central to Manchester United's season, in which the team has kept about 18 clean sheets, as well as conceded the fewest or the second fewest number of goals in the entire season. So, keeping that in mind, Smalling definitely looked like one of the best central defenders that England had, including maybe Phil Jones as well from Manchester United, and Tarkowski from Burnley. Phil Jones has made the cut, although Tarkowski is in the standpipe position, and Chris Smalling, well, I guess Gareth Southgate has kept true to his word, and none of the performances from the English defender have proved enough to get him a place in the English national squad. Now let's move on to the big teams who have missed out on the Football World Cup. Chile, who have managed to win the Copa America twice, 2 years in a row, but were dealt a short hand, if you can call it that, given the criteria and the way the South American football conducts its qualifiers in a one big round robin way, and picks the top 4 or 5 teams. So, given all factors, Chile have to be unlucky with the golden generation not being able to qualify for the FIFA World Cup 2018. Now, in the European phase, Netherlands and even more shockingly, Italy have not managed to qualify for the Football World Cup 2018. Netherlands, on their part, are looked to be in a transitionary phase and recently have given some good performances under the newly appointed Ronald Koeman, but aging of their own golden generation from the likes of Van Persie, Robin, Snyder, and Strootman and many others have given them a blow in their qualifying campaign, not just for the World Cup but for the earlier European Championships as well, for which they couldn't qualify. On the other hand, Italy looked like a certain qualifier. They are one of the biggest teams in the Football World Cup, winning it 3 times. They are one of the biggest teams in the Football World Cup and most well-known teams with big, well-known personalities as players, and especially in the defense with Buffon, De Rossi, Chiellini, Bazzagli, Bonucci, and many others, and with also a fairly decent midfield to accompany them. The coach was clearly called into question for his dubious selections and formations, as well as the tactics he applied in the qualifying campaign, which led to the downhill spiral of the Italian national team, especially the playoffs in which it didn't play Insigne, and a series of events which led to De Rossi's outburst against his coach in the middle of the playoff, and rightly so, led to the Italian national team not being able to qualify. Now in Africa and Asia, a few big teams haven't been able to qualify as well, especially in Africa, the likes of Ivory Coast as well as the Ghanaian national team haven't been able to qualify, which comes as a surprise for the international community, though the Ghanaian national team had quite a fall from grace with major players like Kevin Prince Boateng and everyone revolting against the federation and being banned, resulting in a subpar qualifying campaign for the country. Now back to players, few usual suspects like Benzema as well as Ribery and few others won't be able to come to the World Cup for France, which is not that big a deal for France right now, given the pool of talent they have. They are whatever the squad, they are going to be one of the favorites to lift the trophy come July. Given that there's less than a month remaining for the World Cup, quite a few of squad announcements are going to take place in the coming weeks, maybe in the next week itself. But a few of the squads have already been announced, the major players being Brazil and England. Others have also been announced, but they are the preliminary squads, and I don't want to talk about them unless the final squad has been announced. In case of Brazil, Dani Alves is missing because of injury, but the rest of the big players are there, and it looks like Brazilian national team is the big favorite to win the Football World Cup this year. Even better, they have a better chance than last time because that young generation from the last World Cup, which sadly lost to Germany 7-1 because also Neymar was injured, but those group of players have evolved, developed, and are in the prime of their footballing careers right now. The likes of Neymar, Willian, Paulinho, Gabriel Jesus, Coutinho, and the rest of the midfielders, defenders. Even the defenders in Thiago Silva, Miranda, and Marquinhos and Marcelo are at that stage where the required experience for a defense to deal with attacks is present in that defense. They have enough experience in the European clubs which they play. Unless we are talking about Marcelo, who just likes to go up the field and attack. But still, this Brazilian team looks favourite to lift the World Cup. The only thing I can point out about the Brazilian national team, their weakness, if you like, is if they fall back, against an equally good national team in the later stage of the competition. That is, if they concede a goal and are trailing in the game, they don't have that big Fellaini-like player, if you will, a big centre forward like Lukaku. Why am I naming Belgians? But still, they don't have that proven big, humongous central forward like Ronaldo. I got someone other than a Belgian. Thank God. No, but they don't have that big central forward figure to give them that ugly goal, if you will, to keep them in the competition. But if you want to pick anything from their qualifying campaign, which is an equally tough campaign if you want a test for the World Cup, they did pretty good, given that they won 10 of their last 12 games, qualify for the World Cup Championships. Now the rest of the questions depend on Neymar's fitness. In terms of formation, they look like they're going to have either a diamond formation with Neymar, Willian, Coutinho behind Gabriel Jesus, or they can go with the recently popular combination of a 4-3-3, where the same players can play in different positions as well as rotate their positions. That's the great feature of this national team. Attacking, they are going to be really good to watch when they are on song, and defensively, they are sturdier than most Brazilian teams, and they can get the job done in the defense in terms of keeping clean sheets. Now moving on to England, it has been a slightly left field squad announcement with likes of Smalling, Hart, Wilshere not being named in the squads, and the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Loftus-Cheek getting the cut for the final squad. It has been some tough choices had to be made by Gareth Southgate, who is intent on transforming England into a playing team, a football playing team. When I say football playing team, a team that builds from back to the midfield to the forward line, a team that can control possession of the game, especially against the big teams. In this newly named squad for the World Cup, England have only one player in Gary Cahill who's played more than 50 games for the national team. Now, talking about Gary Cahill, Chris Smalling has had his critics, but he's definitely better than Gary Cahill in the defense, who has also had a uneven season with Chelsea, especially this year. With Antonio Conte putting him out of the squad for some poor performances, and then recently bringing him back in. I think maybe because of keeping the World Cup in mind, but nonetheless he has had some good performances in recent weeks. But back to the point, no other England players had more than 50 appearances. In terms of goals scored, Danny Welbeck of all people has the most goals scored in an England shirt with 15 in the squad. Although, if you're going to think that England do have some outside chance of winning the World Cup, those chances rest with Harry Kane and maybe Jamie Vardy. They are going to have to do the bulk of the scoring, especially considering that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who maybe looks like a good goal threat for England, whatever his critics might say, he does have a good goal scoring talent in him, but given the circumstances of his injury, he has missed out on the plane to the World Cup. The benefactor from this has been Jesse Lingard of all people, who has been given a chance, maybe even Rashford. They look like they can be impact substitutes for England in this year's championships. While the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Loftus-Cheek look like they have been given a chance to be a part of the England squad just to gain some experience and national team squad experience under the belt as a prospect for the future of the country, but they are unlikely to play any games for the nation, definitely. it is a 23-man squad and only 11 players are going to get to play. So, yeah, these two are the most unlikely to play any part in this year's World Cup. The real test of England, its coach Gareth Southgate, and the depth of his squad will come into question when they play Belgium. Now, the form of Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy and Dele Alli are crucial to England's chances at this year's World Cup, if there are any. England will most likely depend on these three players for their goal scoring opportunities, and the defense will be called into question really first in the match against Belgium, in the match against Belgium in the group stage. I'm sure Romelu Lukaku, Fellaini and few others in Hazard and De Bruyne are most likely to take that England defense apart, given the quality on the pitch. Although Kane and Phil Jones have experience, but England have usually been called into question with their defense against the big teams, and it has been the case throughout the history of England and its national team. But if you want to place your money on one thing, it looks like this England national team will be better at playing ball and keeping possession than many of its counterparts from the years before, and that has got to do with the coach Gareth Southgate and his philosophy of football. They could even play as good as the 2006 national team, if you ask me. Now, moving on, I will be talking about the other national team squads as and when the news comes up, and also the different formations and tactics that might be applied, and the coaches and the mindsets based on the previous qualifying campaigns. Also, we're going to be talking about the group stages and different groups and teams most likely to come out of these groups. But before ending this vlog, I must talk about the Europa League Final the other night, where Atletico Madrid beat Marseille, and the center stage was taken by Antoine Griezmann, the man who can take this, the man other than Messi, Ronaldo and Neymar, who can take this World Cup by storm as he did in the European Championships from 2 years ago. This player, he has ability. This player, he has the ability to turn something from nothing. Although short in stature, he has the ability to score goals and has a freakishly good left foot, which draws comparisons with Messi from time to time. So that's another player to watch out for. He scored 2 goals in last night's Europa League Final to win for Atletico Madrid to win 3-0 against Marseille. Now, a short thing before we leave. If you live in a country called India, there's a channel called Sony and 10 Sports who have the rights to telecast this year's Football World Cup. And I was taken aback by the ad for this year's World Cup, which says, "Aapki dusri team kaun si hai?" Which means, which is your other team? It sounded like they were talking in a way. They were talking in a way where they said, once in 4 years we support other national teams, other countries, and that is for the Football World Cup. Although the question is, when do we support our own national team? Our national team has been ranked below 100, or maybe it's above 100 now, or maybe it's above 100 now, who knows. There we follow is Sunil Shetty, and we follow the updates of our national team as and when something pops up. But I don't know many people who forget the Indian national team, even follow our own country's leagues, be it I-League or the better version of it, which has been introduced now in the Indian Super League. Although we have done major progress in terms of infrastructure, and Reliance has to be credited for it, we are still lacking miles behind in terms of what our Indian national team needs to be, and the support for our Indian national teams to be made. Mainly, that's where I can talk. That's the only point of view I can talk from. Anyways, that's I don't want to dwell in it now. It's a major talking point, but one which has to be brought up and which I will bring up after the World Cup is over, and it needs a detailed discussion and everything, which will happen after the World Cup. I promise you that. But yeah, that was a major thing which popped up in my head when I was watching the Europa League Final. That ad came on, and yeah. Anyways, that's all from my first vlog. Do let me know where I can improve on it, and do let me know if you have any suggestions for something like discussions or anything which you want me to during the World Cup, as and when the World Cup goes on, which you want me to do during this year's Football World Cup. Anyways, that's it. If you want India to play at the 2022 Qatar World Cup, subscribe to my channel. Also, if you like what I'm talking about and are interested in it, you can like, share, and also comment about your suggestions and your points of view on what I'm talking about. Thank you.